Hi, everybody. Hi, I'm so excited to be with you and bring you this webinar today. It's unusual for me and my staff because, as you know, in this COVID-19 pandemic, we're forced to come to you via virtual presentations instead of being with you face to face in a classroom setting, which is what we're used to. So forgive please any technical issues that we have with this Zoom platform, but we're going to do the best we can. So again, my name is Yvette Spillman, and I'm a 22-year veteran of retirement planning and all things to do with a successful retirement. My title is actually Registered Investment Advisor, and I'm a fiduciary, which means ethically I have an obligation according to my license and quite frankly to my own conscience to do the best possible thing for you, the client, and not for myself. So I'm excited, as I said, to bring you this presentation today. But there are some challenges in making presentations like this. Just as in writing my book, um, the challenge becomes, how do you take so much information and condense it down into a small bite-sized portion for people that will keep their attention and yet be informative? In writing my book, sometimes I feel like I'm writing War and Peace, and then I have to scale it down. So today, what I'd love to do is take you through just some key points that you will hopefully find very valuable in your retirement planning endeavors. Now, the first thing to note is, again, here we are in this time of pandemic, and whether or not you believe the virus is real or any of that, that's of no matter right now. What matters is the effect that the pandemic is having on the market and quite possibly on your retirement. So we're going to touch on some very important points that hopefully will help enable you to secure as much of your retirement funds as possible in these difficult, volatile, and unpredictable market times. Now, as I've said, I've been doing this 22 years, and along the way, I've learned to learn from the experts. Now, what that means to me is experts who've studied without bias. In other words, they're not in this industry selling things, they don't have anything to promote. These are actual PhDs, Nobel Prize winners, mathematicians, economists that have studied all facets of finance and can bring their knowledge to me and hopefully to you as well. And those are the ones that I call experts. Again, people with high levels of education who've studied the math and the science. And it's from them that I've learned, and I'll pass what I've learned on to you today, in part, in this educational workshop. So we will be together about 35-40 minutes, if I can stay on task. I've got my notes here on the right, just to make sure that I keep myself on task. But let's go ahead and dive in. So here we have on the screen, as I share the screen with you, the title of our presentation today is Let's Get Real About Retirement. And that's what we're going to do. So again, my agency is Wealth Protection Partners, and I have a little slogan here with our agency called Retire with Confidence. And that's what we're here to help you to do, is to retire with confidence, knowing that your money is going to go the distance with you. So let's dive in. And of course, as I said, I'm the host. There's my picture there that my video is blocking. But I come to you as a registered advisor. I also own the agency. I am the CEO. I do hold multiple licenses and certifications. And again, I serve as a fiduciary. And just a little sidebar here for all of you animal lovers. I do run a charity called Unconditional Love Foundation. We do dog and horse rescue in the Southern California, Temecula Valley area since 1998. And you're welcome, of course, when these pandemic restrictions lift. You're welcome to come to our offices and, of course, come out to our rescue ranch. We welcome you. And this is just a necessary disclaimer that we have to include in our presentations, just to let you know, of course, that I am an advisor for retirement planning. I am not a CPA and I am not an attorney. So, of course, for tax advice and any type of legal advice, including trust and wills, you would, of course, want to consult your attorney. So let's dive in. Let's do some housekeeping, okay? First of all, if you would, I'd love if we could treat this like an in-person classroom. So let's go ahead and, if you would, just grab your cell phone and put it on silent. I have done the same with mine. And I know sometimes it's hard to have silence in the house, especially in this time when we can feel so isolated, but turn off the TV if you would, if that was on, you know, with that background noise. Get the kids in another room, shut the door, right? Take the dog out to go potty. Anything that could be a distraction, maybe we could just set it aside for the few minutes that we're together. And then very importantly, please register for your free consultation. You'll get to speak directly with me. We'll have a Zoom one-on-one consult, or we can even speak over the phone if you'd prefer that. And that'll give you an opportunity to share your personal situation, what your concerns are for your portfolio, your retirement savings, and we would have an opportunity to strategize together. So that is free of charge for you attending this webinar. So please take advantage of that. There is a Calendly link with this webinar page where you can just click. You'll see my calendar availability, and you can put yourself right there on my calendar. So pretty easy. If you have any questions on that, or registering on the calendar doesn't seem easy to you, no problem. Just give us a call and we'll be happy to put you on the calendar. Okay, now with some of these seminars, and I apologize, not all, the seminar is being broadcast on 2 different platforms. One of them will have an interactive chat box. So if you see a chat box on your webinar, please take advantage of that. I'm here live, so you can ask me questions during the presentation, okay? If you do not see a chat box, please just save your questions and email us at the end, or we can go over them in your free strategy session. All right, and then very importantly, please at the end, download your free white paper. You're going to get this wonderful white paper written by a mentor of mine in the industry called Tom Hegna. I'm sorry, named Tom Hegna. He calls it Retirement Alpha. Very, very excellent compilation of some of the best minds in finance. And you'll find it, I think, very interesting, very important. And that's free of charge. And that comes as a downloadable white paper that you can enjoy at the end of the workshop. Okay, so welcome. Let's get real about retirement. I'm excited. All right, I hope you are too. So I'm going to dive in here by saying knowledge is power. Power is freedom. Now, I've displayed these running horses as our visual illustration of that. Of course, I'm a horse lover, horse rescuer, but horses are so powerful and they embody strength and freedom. And I want you to kind of think of that when you think of your retirement. I want you to have the knowledge that leads to freedom to do what you want to do in your retirement. Now, a lot of us say, well, that sounds good, you know, and we want to keep it humble if we can. Of course, that doesn't mean that we're free to go out and buy a Lear jet. Maybe for some it does. But mostly that we're free to visit our kids, take a trip, go play a round of golf, you know, do what we want to do instead of checking in for work at Walmart to be a greeter because we've run out of money. So I hope this education that we provide today will help you to have freedom in your retirement, which means, of course, financial freedom. And you'll notice that these horses are running free without bridles, without any kind of harness on. And that indicates, again, true freedom, right? No one's holding them back. So sometimes in retirement, we correlate that with us being held back by untruths, what I'm going to call myths. So let's start by shaking off some of these common harnesses or common myths that may really be holding you back from achieving freedom in your retirement. So what's the first myth? Here it is. All advisors are created equal. Have you heard this? I have an advisor, it's just like any other advisor. It's all good, right? Wrong. Let's break it down. Advisors come in different forms, okay? Different titles, of course. Broker, personalities on TV, right? We call those in the industry sometimes the talking heads. Registered advisors like myself, fiduciaries, financial planners, insurance agents. What's the difference? Okay, well, let's take the top three that we probably have the most interaction with. Number one, of course, is the broker. You see them at Wells Fargo, you see them at Bank of America. They're the Merrill Lynch people, the Fidelity people, the people who come out and visit you regarding your 401k, maybe from Vanguard or T. Rowe Price, etc. Now, brokers have a license that allows them only to deal with stock market products, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, variable annuities, things that are, again, tied to the market. Now, these ones are not licensed usually and not schooled in secure products. Again, their licensure encompasses them into the realm of the market, keeps them in the realm of market products. They are paid by commissions, and they also are paid by fees. Now, these fees and commissions generally come out of your account, right? Some variable annuity commissions do not. They're paid by the company. And really, the point of it is, regardless of the market volatility, a broker is paid. So if your account goes up, your account goes down, doesn't matter. They're still paid on fees, transactions, commissions, etc. Now, why is that important? We'll talk about that in just a moment. Number two, TV personalities, the Dave Ramseys of the world. Usually they provide a very interesting disclaimer at the beginning of their shows that quietly but clearly tells you that they are not financial advisors, nor are they able to give financial advice. I find that oh so interesting, given that they give quite a bit of financial advice. A lot of times it is incorrect, sometimes dangerous. Largely, their shows are based on opinions, not science, math, or economic facts. They may be good perhaps at budgeting, helping you to create a budget, things like that. Now, I'm not trying to bash these TV personalities because they do, again, have good advice on some things. But I've never seen an actual expert on these shows. For example, Nobel Prize winner Dr. Menton wins a Nobel Prize in finance, Dr. Wade Pfau, etc. Why are these people who know the ins and outs of finance like the back of their hand, why are they never on these shows? It's because they don't agree with them. And of course, their sponsors dictate a lot of the narrative. So proceed there with caution. Third, most popular perhaps, or most well-known, is the registered investment advisor or the fiduciary. Now, I do fall into this column. Now, these are ones who are educated and licensed in both sides of the fence, meaning we're educated and licensed in the market realm, as brokers are, and we are educated and licensed in the secure realm, which means insurance, secure products of different kinds, etc. Now, because of that, what's kind of nice, or is nice, is that we're able to provide unbiased advice due to having this broader license. We're not restricted or bound by the limitations of just one type of licensing. Now, too, as a fiduciary, we do have an ethical obligation to act in the best interests of our clients, regardless of compensation. And we can serve in a freelance capacity, and we're able to reach out and work with all types of A-rated companies and pick and choose the best things that are going to fit our clients' needs. So it's very nice. I call it the free realm. We don't operate with restrictions upon us, and that helps us to be truly unbiased and fulfill our ethical obligations to our clients. So just some insight there into the different types of planners. That leads us to our second myth, the 4% rule. You may have heard of this. Let's take a look. What is the 4% rule? Well, a little history on it. Was created by a gentleman by the name of William Bengen. He was a financial analyst, and not too many years ago. This was in the mid-90s. And the rule that he created stated that you could safely take out 4% of your retirement portfolio per year, given that you had 60% stocks and 40% bonds. So if you took out 4% per year of your savings, that savings should last you for 30 years. Now, of course, he did back testing and stress testing and market historical testing to come up with these numbers. Now, keep in mind, this was in the mid-90s. 2013 came along, and Morningstar's analysts came back and said, nope, sorry. With bonds continuously on the descent and long-term lows like we've never seen, that typical 60-40 stock portfolio is not going to work. It's not going to go 30 years taking out 4% a year. We have to reduce that number down to 2.8%. So Morningstar amended the rule and said the 4% rule, due to bonds stinking things up, is now the 2.8% rule. Can you imagine? So if you're only taking out 2.8% of your portfolio every year in retirement, that's probably a small amount of money, smaller than you'd hoped. But by doing that, hopefully, without any further disasters, your account can last you 30 years. Now, certain factors were not accounted for in the production of this rule. I get a little sarcastic there. I say reality is what's missing. For example, if we had that 4% rule reduced down to 2.8% and we apply taxation increasing, we know taxes have to go up, and we'll talk about that. We apply inflation, which actually isn't too bad right now. We apply zero bond performance practically, that we've never seen in history be this bad. And then, of course, long-term care and other health expenses. If we apply these variables, let's then see how reality looks. So here's our example client. We're going to call him John, and we're going to drag John through the 4% rule, okay? We're going to, just for a moment, ignore the 2.8% and pretend that we still live in a world where taking out 4% a year would carry us. So John has $500,000 in his 401k. He's been at his company a while. He's done a good job of saving. And he would like to retire at age 67, okay? But he starts planning early, right? Not that early. He started planning at 62. So John has 5 years to make his plan happen. Let's take a look. So first of all, he went in to see his broker, who told him, keep saving in your 401k. And then let's apply that 4% rule starting at age 67. So they did the math, and that showed that John could take out $20,000 every year for 30 years. Notice though, if we applied a little bit of reality and he took out 2.8%, he would only be able to take out $14,000, not much. Now, John scaled down. He's thinking of scaling down in his mind. So he tells his broker, I need $60,000 to live on. So given that he can take out, hypothetically, that $20,000, he has a shortfall of $40,000. But here comes Social Security, right? So between John and his wife, Jane, when they collect their Social Security at 67, that makes up for the shortfall. They're going to get $48,000 in Social Security, plus the $20,000 from his 401k. There they go. Are they good? Looks like they're good. They're going to get $68,000 in income. $62,000 if we apply reality, right? So let's take a look what happens in the real world. Now, here's poor John, okay? He's got, if you look here on the left, he's got $500,000 growing at the average market growth rate of 4%. The market over its entire history, by the way, has yielded 4.5%. So here's John, $500,000 at 4% in his 401k, and that is, of course, taxable money, right? This is pre-tax money he's been saving, and that's his balance at age 67. But it's present day. Now, John's account is down to $440,000 when he goes to retire. And why? Of course, we know why. COVID-19 hit, and John lost $60,000 in value from his 401k. Now, folks, I'm being very modest there. I know a lot of you have lost more than that. But let's say John caught it early, moved everything to cash, and cut his losses, okay? We're not going to beat him up too badly here. Now, that reduces, right? If we only have $440,000 to start drawing 4% from, that's less than $500,000. So he would have been able to take out $20,000, but look what happened. Now, because of COVID-19 and the market going down, John can only take out $17,600, which is 4% of his $440,000. Okay. Now, the good news was we could add in there the Social Security, $48,000 for he and Jane. So his total that he can start living on in retirement is now $65,600. That's pre-tax, right? We're going to let his accountant work out the taxes with him. And now some years have gone by, okay? 5 years have gone by. John is age 72 now, and he's suffered a stroke. He's a little bit incapacitated, and he needs some help at home. So they go and they hire a very inexpensive caregiver for only $100 a day. Now, I know you're already laughing at that, thinking, good grief, Yvette, where can we find a caregiver for $100 a day? That's impossible. I understand, but again, we're not beating John up too badly. You're kind of getting the point that we're making these numbers a little bit unrealistic. If we apply actual reality, John would be out of money in a hot hurry. So we're being kind to him in this illustration, okay? Now, he has a stroke. He's paying $100 a day for someone to assist Jane in taking care of him. So we notice here, if we multiply 100 times every day of the year, we get $36,500 going out. That's being subtracted to go to care. Right? That leaves John $29,100 of remaining annual income that he can spend. That's not enough. How are he and Jane going to meet their bills? So, of course, he has to go back into his IRA and take that money for care out of the IRA 401k. right? He has to live. Now, because of that care need and because of that market hit that he took from the get-go, notice, sadly, John's 401k runs out of money and hits $0 in only 16 years. And then all he and Jane have left is Social Security. Now, in reality, of course, we did not include fees, right? Market fees, taxes going up, which we absolutely know is going to happen. The real cost of long-term care, we did not include that. We only included a modest $100 a day. We also didn't include the possibility of inflation going up. And we certainly didn't include any market losses. So in reality, if we apply all these things, John runs out of money in about 10 years. And that's sad. That's not what we want to happen. We know the number one fear of baby boomers is running out of money, outliving your money. Okay, that's also known as longevity risk. And that's very real, as we can see here from this very honest, forthright illustration. Now, what else can happen other than just the longevity risk? Okay, what else can happen is what we call sequence of returns risk. Now, notice this chart. I'm going to move my picture here. I hope I can move that. Let me just, oh, I can. Okay. Now, let's look at this example because sequence of returns risk is also very important when you're going to retire. What this means is if you took a market loss at the beginning of your retirement, that is oh so much worse than if you took a market loss later on in retirement. All right. Now, this is a real numbers, real market example. Notice here what happened. We've got two couples, Tom and Mary, Mike and Susan. They retired at the same time. Okay, they were age 65. Now, both have both have $500,000 in their retirement accounts. Okay, now all things were created equal for both of them. They started withdrawing 5% a year. We know 4% wasn't cutting it. And we adjusted these numbers to include a 3% annual inflation. All right, both are getting 6%. Their portfolios were performing a little bit above normal market returns. Okay, and notice Tom and Mary are going to be our victims here today. Tom and Mary are the ones who experienced negative market returns at the beginning of their retirement. See here in the first 2 years. And these are real market performance numbers. Okay. But Mike and Susan are going to reap positive market returns. Okay. Again, perhaps they are retiring the same way at the same age, but at two different times in the market. So notice here the tragedy. The tragedy is Tom and Mary taking these negative returns at the get-go and then taking out their $25,000 annually, their 5%. Oh my gosh, look at this. Retiring at 65, their money runs out at age 78 just because of these negative returns at the start of their retirement. Now, Mike and Susan here on the right also taking out 5%, $25,000, but not experiencing the negative returns at the get-go. Notice, their money is still going strong at age 95. Okay. Here they had a few negative returns down here towards the latter years. So this is just an example of how terrible it can be when you try to retire, for example, now in this COVID-19 negative market environment, and you take a loss at the beginning. It can be very impactful. So That brings us to a really important question. And that question is, if the 4% rule doesn't work, and we know then the 2.8% rule certainly doesn't work, what is the answer? How can we preserve money and have it go the lifetime with us, our lifetime? Well, the answer is proper diversity. And we're going to look at actually what that means. That does not mean any longer 60% stocks and 40% bonds. And in discussing proper diversity, we come to myth number 3. Insurance is bad. Let's look at where this myth usually comes from. And it's one of these 3 places I'd be willing to bet. If you stop and think where you got that idea, let's take a look and see if you find this to be true for you. Usually, one of the 3 places that you get the idea that insurance is bad is TV personalities and talk radio personalities preaching, don't buy insurance, don't buy insurance. Or they'll say things like, buy term and invest the rest. Okay, we see the picture here, we know who they are. Or the advice might come from a family member. Maybe they mean well. We've got Uncle Fester here saying, I had a problem with that insurance contract, and then that sticks in your mind. Sadly, the 3rd place that often comes from is your broker. Now, we're not bashing brokers here. They serve a purpose, don't they? And many of them be absolutely lovely people. And I've trained brokers over the years. And what I find is, because again of their restricted licensing, allowing them only to work in the market realm, they don't understand insurance, they're not trained in it. And sadly, even if they are, they're not allowed to sell it to you or to explain it to you as part of a successful retirement plan, because their broker-dealer, their bosses say, no, you cannot be taking money away from the market side of people's portfolios. Then your commissions go down, then our overall commissions for the entire agency goes down. So that's a no-no. Talking insurance as a broker is usually taboo. Now, aside from the talking heads on TV, brokers, etc., your uncle, who are the financial experts? When you say to yourself, I need to research these type of products and understand them, who are the experts that you can go to get this knowledge? Well, these are some names you might want to remember, okay? These are the ones that understand the actual math and science of secure products. Secure products are usually provided by insurance companies, big, giant, powerful insurance companies. Okay, names like Dr. Wade Pfau, Dr. Michael Finke, Roger Ibbotson. This one is one of my favorites. Dr. Paul Menton, Nobel Prize winner from Harvard. He often writes for the Harvard Review. David Babel from the Wharton School, Dr. Milevsky, Menahem Yari, and Ed Slott, Tom Hegna, others like David McKnight. These are ones who've actually studied the math of these products and the economic impact, and can be excellent resources for you in doing proper research. Now, there's an old saying, everyone has an opinion, and I won't finish that. It's kind of abrupt and rude, but everyone can have an opinion. I personally, probably like you, I would rather see facts. Show me the math, show me the science, show me the economic facts of something before it's poo-pooed or dismissed. So again, the real professionals listed here on the left. Ones that you can see cited and read their white papers in this third-party white paper that I'll share with you free at the end of the webinar. So what are the facts? We want to know facts. What are they? Well, insurance products like annuities are actually the only vehicle that can protect you against mortality risk, right? The fear of outliving your money. Mortality credits are the key to providing lifetime guaranteed income that can never go down. That's also important. You don't want a guaranteed income stream that's decreasing over time when you need it to be increasing. So an annuity is the only thing that has mortality credits and can provide that kind of security for you. Now, I have a total online university for retirement planning that you can access on our website. We have a class on understanding mortality credits, understanding different facets of retirement, and of course, understanding annuities and how to position them is also an individual class. So feel free to tune into our online university to learn a little bit more about this. Again, today we're just covering the highlights. Now, we might have other investments in mind. For example, bonds, real estate. A lot of people have rental properties as investments, CDs, market accounts that are maybe held in cash. No, there's no other investment out there that can provide for mortality risk and cover that for you. And the experts will tell you the same. Now, annuities are uniquely backed, okay? They have giant reserve accounts that back up dollar for dollar your investment. So none of these companies, because of these giant reserve accounts and all these stop losses put in place, none of these giant companies have ever become insolvent in over 200 years. So that provides you certainly an elevated level of security that you also cannot get somewhere else. So very interesting, maybe things that you haven't heard of before. Now, what is the economic impact? What does all this mean to you? Okay, what it means is experts, again, touting these experts on the left, they are saying that no retirement portfolio is safe nor complete without an annuity. Isn't that interesting? And they're saying that because this bond climate is so terrible. We used to be able to balance out the risk of our stocks with the security of bonds, and that's no longer the case. Sadly, too, pensions are a thing of the past, and for most, Social Security is grossly underfunded and a little scary. So protecting yourself with your own personal pension annuity to at least cover basic expenses and to provide guarantees is just an absolute must. So please download the white paper again to read more on that from the experts. So I tell you what we're going to do here. Let's take a look back in time. Let's go back to John. Remember, he had applied the 4% rule and it wasn't going very well for him. So this time, let's take half of John's 401k and let's have him put it in a stripped down, simplified accumulation annuity. All right? So John's $250,000 annuity starts at age 62. Remember, he started planning at 62. And he still wants to take his income at 67 and retire. Now, because he does that, the income from this guaranteed pension annuity will pay him $20,150 a year for life. Now, sometimes that goes up every year, okay, as he gets a little bit more market growth in that account. And if anything happens to him, he can actually pass the entire account on to his heirs, to his wife, his children, his estate. Now we see here his market account with $250,000 at 4%. Remember, we split the $500,000 in half. So the market side of his account, taking out 4%, gets him $10,000 for 30 years. Okay, remember now it's really 2.8%, so it would be a little less than this if we were in the real world. And of course, if we don't have any future market downturns. So John and Jane's Social Security income at $48,000 plus the $20,150 from this guaranteed annuity plus the $10,000 from the market side of his portfolio yields John more. Notice he's going to get $78,150. Now on this annuity, he has no fees, zero market risk, and he has a free feature built into this particular product that will allow him to have some assistance with a long-term care expense. The chart on the right is very important. The chart on the right shows actual market performance in the red line, and the green line is a stripped down accumulation annuity for the same time frame as the market. Okay, and we notice when the market goes down right here, we see this was 2008, 2009, when the market plunged down, notice what the annuity did. It remained completely level and did not take that plunge. These annuities guarantee you against any market losses. So in these down market times, you gain nothing, but you also lose nothing. And that is the key to staying safe and staying ahead of the market. Okay. So let's compare. Let's look at the visual. John here on the left was using the 4% rule, keeping money in his 60% stock, 40% bond portfolio, versus retiring with diversity, right? We said proper diversity, using the market portfolio, his stocks, and the annuity. Notice the difference. He comes out the gate here on the left with only $65,600. Okay. On the right, though, using the annuity, he's quite a bit ahead of that, about $13,000 more in potential income. Actually, I say potential because he has some money coming from the market, which is unsecured, and the rest is guaranteed. Now, here on the left, John's $65,600 income is exposed completely to market risk, longevity risk, tax risk, taxes could go up, right? Inflation, which we didn't account for in this dollar amount, and of course, long-term care. And we saw in John's example, when we brought him into reality, that he actually ran out of money at 72. When we, were kinder to him, he ran out of money at 77. And then he and Jane only had their Social Security to live on after that. That's everyone's nightmare, isn't it? However, over here on the right, by including the income annuity, the pension-style personal income annuity, he eliminated market risk on that annuity side. He eliminated fees. He created a provision for long-term care expense. The annuity has a built-in feature for doubling your income in the event of a long-term care need. That is free of charge. Tax risk, though, still did exist, right? Because this is pre-taxed 401k money. So he did still have the potential of taxes on this side, unless he did Roth conversion, which we did not illustrate. Okay, the market account side that he had, the $10,000 coming from the market, can actually last longer because he's not taking as much out, right? When he had that long-term care need, he did not have to dive into his market account and start taking that money out. He was able to have the help from the annuity, which was able to carry him and not force him to deplete his market account. Most importantly, that annuity is going to provide him income for life. So if you look at this mild comparison, now we could have beefed up the numbers. We could have given John $1 million account, then the numbers would have looked a lot larger in difference. There would have been a more stark contrast. But we wanted to keep it as realistic as possible because I know a lot of you have $500,000, $600,000 401ks. And this gives you a visual example of how much better you can do by replacing at least the bond portion of your portfolio. Of course, with a stripped down annuity. So did you catch the key advantages? Number one, no market risk to these annuities. What a beautiful thing. So in these drastic times of not being sure what's going on, high volatility, terrible impact to the economy that has long-lasting reach, the bonds continuing to tank, no market risk is something of great value. So we can use these stripped down basic accumulation annuities to take care of eliminating that market risk for us. Guarantees, I love that word. When we use an annuity or a cash value life insurance, that is the only time that I can use the word guarantees and tell you that whatever we put in that product is 100% guaranteed income for life, taking away longevity risk, outliving your money. Okay. And then the third main point was we have a higher income with an inflation hedge and a potential long-term care hedge based on what type of annuity we use. So some really key points that the experts will back me up on and let you know that these are an integral part of a proper retirement portfolio, providing you safety and guarantees. So the question comes up, well, Yvette, that sounds good, but how do these annuities work? Now, again, there's a class on this, so we won't get too deep into it, but basically, like we showed in the chart before, these annuities allow you to track the market upside only, as we see right here especially, okay? Track the upside only and insure you against the downside losses. Now, they have no fees, or some have very low fees of 1%. So we'll usually see them 0 to 1% in cost. That does not affect your guaranteed income. The 1% or less fee never comes out of the guarantees. Now, one thing too that's really nice is you can possibly set them up to do internal Roth conversion, where if you have a 401k and you put pre-tax money in, you can get after-tax money out. So something we can certainly discuss one-on-one is the Roth conversion features. Some also have the long-term care feature we discussed built in. Now, as a fiduciary, I highly recommend that you deal only with A-rated products. These ones can be really, really designed beautifully to be excellent performers, to have no caps on the market growth, to have large participation rates, to get you as much of this market upside as possible. And then, of course, we talked about mortality credits. That is something so crucial. Please tune into our special class on understanding mortality credits. They're also discussed in your white paper. When you understand those, you'll understand just how beautifully these can work for you. But the mortality credits allow for guaranteed income for life. And again, I stress that because bonds, real estate, nothing else can offer you that guarantee. And that's very important when we're structuring a secure retirement strategy. So, sounds good, works great, but where do we put them? As was mentioned, the experts are saying when we look at your portfolio, it's usually the bond portion of the portfolio that we want to look at replacing with one of these better performing and guaranteed annuities. Now, if we look at this chart, we can see from the 90s here, bonds have been declining down to an all-time low that they are at today. Sadly, though, when interest rates, they're at 0 right now, when interest rates start to go up in the future, bonds and interest rates have an inverse relationship. So, of course, as interest rates rise, bonds will devalue even further than they are right now. So Experts are looking way into the future and saying bonds just do not have the ability to perform now, possibly not even beyond 10 years from now. So in positioning an annuity, again, it's a great idea to replace at least the bond portion of your portfolio. Now, I'll pause here for just a moment because I have had many people ask me, Yvette, can I put more than that in there? Can I put part of my stock accounts in there? Because I am sick of the volatility. We need to discuss that personally one-on-one to make sure that we would be doing the right thing for you in doing that. You certainly can. I've seen multiple clients desire to put their entire 401ks into a secure annuity and have that guaranteed income stream, have the liquidity of being able to reach in there and grab their money, etc. But the question is it appropriate for you? So there are several personal things that we would need to discuss before making that kind of a decision. Can you do it? Yes. Should you do it? Maybe, maybe not. Okay. So in knowing all of this about the secure realm, there are some phrases that you can now eliminate from your vocabulary now that you're in the know. Okay, remember all the experts. So some of the things you might want to not say any longer are, well, Susie Orman said, or Dave Ramsey said, or my favorite, let me run this past my broker and see what he thinks. Okay, those are statements you can do away with now. And I like this analogy here that was shared with me before. It's a picture here on the left of a dentist, and on the right, these are two heart surgeons. And the question asks, do you go to your dentist for heart surgery? Well, of course not. So you wouldn't go to Dave Ramsey's advice or your broker to understand the secure realm and how to create security in your retirement. Okay, that makes sense? I hope so. So the question then comes, what about the money that you do leave in the market? How can we improve the performance there? And we have some really wonderful tools for the market side of your portfolio. We talked about getting the security in there. Now, what about the risk side? What about that side for performance and increases in your overall holdings? Well, you may not have heard of this, but there's a wonderful report. It's an analytical report called Hidden Levers. And we run the Hidden Levers report for you free of charge. And I'm sorry, the picture's a little blurry here. I tried to copy it off my screen. But Hidden Levers analyzes your portfolio from top to bottom. It tells you where the weak spots are. Does your account have excessive fees? Are there low performing areas that can be reallocated, et cetera, et cetera. So I'd love to, when we meet with you one-on-one, offer the Hidden Levers report and have your market account properly analyzed to get it performing as best as it possibly can. It's a very interesting report. So, okay, we're going to keep rolling on now to myth number 4. And this one really hurts my heart because there's so many reasons that taxes are going up. But sometimes you'll hear brokers tell you, don't worry, you can operate on less in retirement because you'll be paying less taxes when you retire. Is that true? Let's look. Again, we have a class specifically on this in our online university at our website, retirementandyou.org. But for many reasons, taxes must go up. The current dilemma exists, and it's a bad one. If we look here on the left, we realize that Social Security and Medicare right now, this moment, are consuming 92 cents of every tax dollar that comes into the government. That only leaves 8 cents for other federal programs, including the military. Okay, some very important things you'll want to look at in David McKnight's book, The Power of Zero. He talks about the tax dilemma at length. Really, really interesting, but also very scary. The U.S. national debt, if you go to usnationaldebtclock.org, you'll find the current debt is over $23 trillion with over $100 trillion of obligations off the books, okay? Taxes somehow are lower than they have ever been in record history in the United States. And yet we have these astronomical expenses and unbridled spending on the part of the government. These stimulus packages, obviously for COVID-19, are going to have to be repaid. So we have to apply logic to understand that taxes are most certainly going up. The 401k, this is a ticking time bomb. Also, we have a class discussing this. The national debt and the 401k fund are almost neck and neck. There's about $21 trillion in the 401k fund right now, and that is the IRS's #1 taxation target. So for all of you who have money in 401k, look out. Unless we start doing strategic Roth conversion, the tax train is coming and it's going to run us over. The average retiree stands to lose over 40% of their retirement savings in 401k IRA. That's going to Uncle Sam. We're not even going to mention the state. Okay, that's a whole different nightmare. Social Security tax is also something that you may not expect. But as you start taking IRA money into your home, 401k money, plus Social Security, the two together ignite Social Security taxation that you probably were not expecting. And that increases your federal tax that you owe every year. So not good. Certainly Roth is important. Now, what's the government doing, right? We know in 2026, the taxes are going back up to the rates that they were before 2018. So we already know that there's a tax increase coming, but Congress is already proposing that that tax increase be significantly higher than what taxes were before. And it sounds terrible, but they're asking to take the maximum tax bracket that is now 37%, not to 39% like it was before, but to 88%. That's coming right out of the Congressional Budget Office as we speak. The lower tax brackets of 10 and 12% are expected to completely vanish. 25% is requested to be the new lowest tax bracket. Some scary stuff. So the point, taxes will be higher in the coming years out of sheer necessity. So smart planning has to happen now to really plan and strategize for you to not be run over by that tax train, as David McKnight calls it. Again, the solution is strategizing now using Roth conversion and tax credited cash valued life insurance. Have you heard of that? Cash value life insurance, very important. One of the mentors of mine that I just absolutely love and adore is Ed Slott. Here's one of his books. Ed Slott has been talking about cash value life insurance and how the IRS has favored it for decades. You can Google him, watch any of his online shows, read any of his books, and he will tout that and tell you more about it. But he's not in our industry. He's probably the nation's leading CPA, and he's big time on the cash value life insurance train. But what can we do? If we have a 401k, 403b, IRA, we can start working with our fiduciary advisor to start planning out how to do Roth conversions, how to start stepping over that pre-tax money to a tax-free state. Now, we can use a Roth annuity, right? Sometimes they do internal conversions, and that's great. It makes it easy. Other times, though, we may want to take advantage of that cash value life insurance because it actually does more than the annuity, and it also provides for long-term care. Some things we can go through one-on-one in our individual strategy session. Okay. So what did we learn? We've gone over a lot. What did we learn? What are the keys to a successful retirement? Number one, educate yourself with facts, with science, with math, not with opinions. Okay, remember the experts. Who did we say? Got some books here. Ed Slott, right? Tom Hegna. This is a great book. Paychecks and Playchecks, Retirement Solutions. Wonderful. Retire Happy, Tom Hegna. And then, of course, Dr. Pfau, Dr. Menton, Dr. Babel, all of them. Take a look at their white papers and read their summaries online. Harvard Review, okay, excellent ways. Wharton School of Business and the white papers they put out on retirement, etc. And we do have all of those in our online library that you can download from our site. So again, education is key. Seeking out a fiduciary advisor with no biases that are often caused by limitations of licensing. Strategize with that advisor to properly diversify. Does that mean that you have to get an annuity? Maybe. Maybe it does. If you have bonds, that is of a serious concern. Okay? Reducing risk and creating proper diversity and secure growth. Again, remember, mortality credits, key, providing guarantees. Okay? Building in guarantees, possibly again using that simplified annuity and eliminating longevity risk. Have your market account analyzed. Point number 5 here. We have a lot of clients in the market, and that's great. We put them there. Let's analyze those accounts. All right, we do that on a regular basis for our clients, but perhaps your account hasn't been analyzed. Let's get that hidden levers report done for you to maximize your performance, minimize your expenses. Okay. Discussing tax reduction and tax elimination strategies are so important. If your advisor is not discussing tax reduction and tax elimination, you have to ask yourself why. That is key. You cannot lose 40, 50, 60% of your retirement savings to the IRS. Please don't let that happen. Okay, and then enact a successful plan as soon as possible. Don't procrastinate. Don't sit on your hands. Don't say maybe the market will come back and things will get better. Start planning now. Remember, no one plans to fail. They simply fail to plan. Thank you so much. There was a lot that we covered. So after this workshop, again, just click on the Calendly link to get your free consultation. I'll be delighted to meet you. Grab your personalized reports, go and download those from our site. And here they are here. You can see the site is retirementandyou.org. And our phone number, 877-745-0008. Now, our retirement classes, as I mentioned, are also available on the site in addition to this summary class. Some of the topics are understanding Medicare, maximizing Social Security, planning for long-term care, understanding how to use that cash value life insurance, those are called IULs, the basics of annuities, Annuity 101, discussing mortality credits, and some other topics that we have on there. So I hope this session has provided you with some important insight on how to get guarantees and security and longevity protection in your portfolio, and also how to maximize your at-risk money. My heartfelt hope is that you have success in retirement. I'd really love to meet you, and I thank you so much for attending today and hope that your family is safe and well during this difficult time. Thanks for being with us, and I'll look forward very much to seeing you soon.